Today we're going down to play cash game pokers in Philadelphia, the city that ranks top 5 every year for the ugliest people in the United States, and whose greatest sports icon is a fictional boy with severe brain damage due to CTE. Anyway, we go sit down at a 2-5 table. We recognize a good player from a home game we've played at before. We buy in for only 500. We're shorter than everybody else, I realized early on. It's a 1K cap, but you know, whatever. I only want to play 100 big blinds deep. I'm new to cash games. I mostly play tournaments, so I don't know. We get no hands for the first like 1.5 orbits, other than some limp pot, blotty blah. Folds to us in the low jack, and we have pocket 9s. We raise the 4x to $20. The button and the small blind both call. Flop comes king, king, queen, rainbow. It's always best to see 3 overs to your good pocket pair. Small blind checks. I think we're checking 100% of our hands here always. Multi-way, out of position. I don't really know. I just default to that as a strategy. But anyway, we check, and then the button checks as well. Turn comes 3 of whatever. Small blind checks, and now because the button checked, and he should have the most kings and queens in theory, and I think he'd probably bet them on the flop, I figure I can get value from one of these two guys if they have Jack 10, Ace 10, some bullshit, right? But mostly straight draw type of hands. I don't really know if this is a smart bet or not, but multi-way, if I can get one guy to fold out, one guy to call with a straight draw, it's definitely a win. Small blind checks, we bet $25. The button folds and the small blind calls. The river comes, probably the worst card. We didn't want to see a jack. He checks and we immediately check back, and he has Jack 9. We lose the pot, we're down $45, but the plan in that hand went as planned. I know this isn't a big juicy pot, but it's just interesting. Those are the exact type of hands we were targeting with a turn bet. I don't know if this is good or not, but we wouldn't have put in a chip on the river no matter what. So now we're playing maybe 6-handed. People say ranges get wider when you're 6-handed. That's not true. It's irrelevant. When you're on the button or the cutoff, you're playing a wider range than you are in early position. And because when you're 6-handed, you're more often in those positions, people think you play wider, but you don't. You still always play the same button range from the button, blah. Anyway, hijack or some shit opens to $20. It folds to us in the small blind, and we look down at 9-7 of spades. We call the 20 and go heads up to a flop with 45 in the middle. Flop comes 10-6-5, heart club. We check, he bets $25, and we debate check raising with our gut shot, and because in my head I'm like, oh, this is more me than him. I don't know, because we don't have that much behind. I get we have 410 behind. I don't know. That's not really a factor. I guess that's what I was thinking in game, but that's kind of stupid. But I think we made the right call in just check calling. So we call, and the turn brings in the flush. It comes a 2 of hearts. And now I'm like, yo, if he checks back after I check, which I do on the turn, I'm going to win this pot by bluff. Like, I'm winning this pot no matter what now. So we check, and he does check back. There's 95 in the pot going to the river, and the river comes a bailout plan, the 8 of clubs. We still could have hit our gut shot, which we fucking do. So this is nice. We don't have to bluff. Now we can value bet. Like I said, there's 95 in the pot. We decide to bet $125. I don't really know why, but I think this is good. Because it's a board that I'm going to bluff at a lot, then I want to bet small. I don't know, man. Whatever. He calls, though, is the bottom line, and we win. So, don't give me a hard time for not knowing why I do things sometimes. I guess if I'm leading, I want it to look polarized. Unless I'm blocking, it's like, oh, dude, I don't know. Now, literally the very next hand, there's a straddle to $10. Folds to us on the button. We look down at ace queen off. We raise to 30. The straddle calls, and we go heads up to a flop. He's a medium rare old guy, whatever. He's not that old, but anyway, heads up to a flop. It comes 10-8-3 with 2 diamonds and 1 heart. Check, and we decide to check back. I don't know. I guess I could be betting. I want to mix in some checks. Doesn't seem necessary. Turn comes a 4 of hearts. He bets 50, and since we check back flop, and I'm going to induce him to bluff a lot, and we're probably good much of the time, he has all his straight draws. What's he going to be betting with? Only a 10 is the only real value hand that he'd be wiling out with, maybe 2 pair. We decide to call. The river, neither flush comes in. It pairs top pair. It comes to 10. So it's 10-8, 3, 4, 10. And he just snap bets $100. This is where live reads go wrong. I tried to live read the guy. He was looking around at like the wall and like trying to look relaxed. Like often when people bluff, they will like take a sip of their drink and overcompensate trying to look calm sometimes. So it was really stupid. I don't need to be so hard on myself. We hero call, and I think he thinks he was bluffing because he goes just a 4, and he has king 4 suited. So I don't know what he thought he was doing, but we lose. I was like, you're good. And now I'm back down to 415 in my stack. We add on for 200 because we were a little short, but we don't want to go crazy. We don't want to play too deep stacked. Like I said, we're not familiar with it. It's not a matter of like trying to be cautious. It's more just like, I don't want to make major mistakes for a lot of big blinds. Now we have $600 in our stack. We're 120 big blinds deep after topping up a little juicer. This hand isn't really that big of a deal, but it just illustrates what you cause when you raise too big. We have king queen off in the small blind. We're ready to play, but under the gun raises to $30. He just 6x's it. Nobody's been doing that the whole game. Maybe he thought there was a straddle. I don't know. And when it folds to us, I just fold. It's like, yo, bro, you just lost value, dickhead, with your pocket queens or whatever you had. Don't do that. Don't raise too big. Do whatever the game's agreed to do. So we win the blinds and straddle twice, raising 9-8 of hearts and king 10 off. When we get in a hand with king 8 of spades, we're in the big blind. The cutoff limps, we check. We're heads up to a flop. It comes 10-6-2, club, spade. So 1 spade, 2 clubs. We have backdoor, flush draw, and over to top pair, and 2 overs to middle pair. We check, he bets $10, and we decide to call. We turn the backdoor flush draw. The turn comes the queen of spades. We check again, and he bets $25. And now for the similar reason, now we have the flush draw. We're realizing we have over pair to top pair. We call again. The river comes the ace of hearts. We're just going to give up. We check, and he checks back. He wins with 7-6 of diamonds. And I include this in the vlog because I think our line is fine, but the flop call may be tournamenty of us. You know what I mean? It may be not necessary, not enough in there to fight for with just an over and backdoor flush draw. That's a very tournament thing where there's no rake and ante in the pot. I don't really know. Comment if you think I'm stupid. Well, no. Comment if you think I misplayed that hand or played it well. Don't comment if you think I'm stupid. That way everybody will comment. Folds to us in the cutoff, and we look down at ace king of hearts. We raise to $20. The button, small blind, and big blind, everybody behind us all call. $80 in the pot, 4 ways to a flop. We have a good hand, but it's a drawn hand, as they say. Flop comes 3-3-2 with 2 hearts, 1 spade. This is a good flop for us. We have the 2 best overs in the game, besides 2 aces, and the flush draw. Both blinds check, and we decide to check as well. Just like I said before, multi-way, out of position. I'm just going to be checking my whole range all the time, just to simplify. The button bets $35. And now the small blind raises to $100. The big blind folds and it's back on us. And I'm really not sure if I'm supposed to like re-raise, get it in. I have about 550 in my stack behind. I don't really know, but I ultimately decide to just call and continue, see what happens, which I think is probably the best thing. And if the button re-raised, we would go with it. But we call the 100, the button folds. So now we're heads up to a turn, 280 in the pot. Turn comes the queen of clubs. He bets $140. I semi-reluctantly call. I mean, it seems like a slam dunk call in hindsight with 2 overs and the nut flush draw. But in game, I'm just a giant pussy sometimes, and I would never actually fold. But I think I'm just like, oh, he just has a random 3. I just all these skeletons in the closet for me in cash games for some reason, and I don't know why. When you separate yourself from the emotion of the money or something, or I don't know what it is, it's just a clear call. But anyway, he bets 140 into 280. We call. And the river comes the king of clubs. I'm hoping he checks now because I don't want to have to call off. Again, maybe pussy me. I don't really know. But he checks. We check back pretty quickly. And he has pocket 10s. We win a juicy fucking pot. Let's go. We have like 875 in our stack now. Yay. We look down at Jack 10 of clubs in the hijack. Early position raises to 20. There's another early position caller of 20. And for the first time ever, I'm sad to announce that I actually thought of the high hand potential. I've been infected with this cash game, old guy reg idea of hitting the high hand. It actually occurred to me. Additionally, on this trip, which you can see on my Twitter or Instagram, I've hit a new low. For the first time, I redeemed the casino prize giveaway. It's a 10-piece garden tooling set with tote bag. Anyway, we call the 20, and the cutoff also calls the 20. So there's 4 callers who've each put in $20 when the small blind 3 bets really small to $110. He's a sort of nervous-looking, middle-aged-ish guy. And somehow we're the only one who calls the 3 bet, despite how small it is, which I'm fine with, dude. I'm glad. So there's $285 in the pot. We're going heads up, and we get a fucking sick flop. It comes Jack, 2, 2 hearts, 1 spade. He decides now to check, which is odd for 3-better, whatever. And we check back, gonna trap. I don't think he would continue with ace king. I don't know. I really am just trying to trap him, honestly. I don't think he has enough continues except for overpairs. So we decide to check back and see what he does. It's the luxury of being in position. Turn comes the 3 of diamonds. He now bets $175, and I don't think there's any possible reason to raise. Again, we'll just get him to fold out his bluffs, all the better hands. So we just call the 175. So we call the 175. There's $635 in the pot, and we go to the river. It's the 7 of diamonds. He bets, kind of nervously, but this is irrelevant, $325. He has $400 behind after his 325, and we are in the tank. We're obviously never folding, debating whether or not we should raise. We're in game thinking very, very not clearly, right? This pot is now 960 in it. It's gotten very big, which is fine, which shouldn't be a consideration. But in game, like a fucking retard, I was thinking he's only going to call with better. I don't want to value on myself. So I make what I assume is the absolute nut worst decision besides folding, and I just call. He has aces. We win a massive pot, and I'm happy, but I'm so tilted at myself. We have $1,500 in our stack, but for actual professional analysis, I guess if I should have bet flop and how bad I am on the river, I'm going to go to fellow ACR Team Pro and now YouTuber Rob Kuhn.
And we are back for another segment of How Can Ryan Depaulo Butcher This Hand Again? First of all, this is just unbearable to read, so let me try to figure out what's going on here. Jack 10 of clubs in the hijack. Early position raises to $20. I'm guessing the blinds are 2-5. Another early position caller. We are in the cut. We are in the hijack with Jack 10 of clubs and decide to call. Jack 10 of clubs is a hand that we can go ahead and go for the 3-bet. Has a lot of playability. Also depends on stack sizes, which Depaulo just decided not to give me any of this information or any information at all about the hand because why not? He goes for the call. Cutoff calls, 4 others call. Small blind 3-bets to 110, which is rather small. I think you'd probably want to be sizing up to like 150, depending on the stack depths. Action gets back to Depaulo, who decides to call. The flop is Jack, Jack, Deuce, 2 hearts. The small blind checks, and we flop trip jacks. And it's really, really important when you flop a big hand to put absolutely no money in. So Ryan checks, of course, because this is the correct play. No, this is not the correct play. Put money in. Like, what are you doing? Get value from ace king. Get value from his, his pot controlled aces, stuff like that. There's 2 hearts on the board. Get value from flush draws. Bet. You also have a very hard time. I'm not going to go too down the route because you're going to give me a stroke with these kind of hand histories. We're not going to go too down it, but if you later on in future streets have to raise, you can't bounce us by checking back the jack, right? So you're just always going to be, you're just always going to have a jack. So you need to bet flop. The turn being the 3 of diamonds, still being just the front door flush draw on the flop. Turn doesn't bring it back to our flush draw. He bets 175, and we go for the call, which is completely reasonable. I don't think we want to raise, even though we do check back the jacks. Once we raise, it's just too likely that we have a jack, and this is why you just want to bet the flop in the first place to allow yourself to have enough bluffs. The river's the 7 of diamonds. He bets 325. We just tank call like a fucking pussy. Sorry, I'm just reading this out loud. He has $400 back. He bets 7. I don't know. The river's close. Like, you could shove here for sure. I don't mind going for the just call. Potentially he has a better hand like king jack or ace jack or something like that. Shoving is completely reasonable as well. Praying, he calls with aces or kings. The thing is, in live poker, like if this was online, I would just call because I don't think anyone's going to call with worse. But in live poker, I think people will just always call with aces or kings or something like that. So I would probably shove, but it's not the biggest deal. But most certainly the biggest blunder here is, well, pre's even debatable, but the flop. Like, what are you doing?
I'm still so tilted at myself, but we're still playing poker. There's a straddle to $10. A middle position player limps, another guy calls, and we're on the button with king 7 of hearts. We're like, you know what? Fuck this. Fuck being a pussy. We raised to 50. The straddler and both limpers call. So now out of nowhere, there's $200 in the pot, 4 ways to a flop, and we're on the button with king 7 of hearts. The flop comes ace, ace, deuce, rainbow, and they all check to us, and this is a perfect spot to just bet small and take the pot. We bet 60, and they all angrily fold. That's a great pickup. We just make $150, only betting 60 on the flop. So I included that hand. That's a tournament-ish type of hand, but it's just a cool little scoop after we fucked up the last hand so bad. So now we have about 1,600 in our stack after seeing a couple flops and folding. We raise ace jack, $20 from under the gun, +1 calls, and then the low jack 3 bets, and we just fold because with the guy behind, we don't want to get into it. We're nearing the end of the session, and we have 10-9 of diamonds in the small blind. Middle position raises to 15. The bottom line is we call the 15. 5 people are going to the flop, and we have 10-9 of diamonds. 75 in the middle. It comes Jack 8-6, 1 diamond. This is a good flop for us. We have a backdoor flush draw, up and down straight draw. We check flop, though. We're going to check with everything, and everybody else checks. Now the turn comes to 4 of diamonds. So we have a flush draw and an up and down straight draw. We got a lot of equity. We want to bet. We want to thin the herd, allow ourselves to be able to bluff certain rivers, although I don't know what those are in game. And then maybe sometimes, well, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, we lead $100 into the $75 pot. The big blind calls and everybody else folds. And then the river comes an 8 of whatever, not of diamonds. In game, we decide to just give up, thinking that if he called 100 on the turn, that he's going to call the river on this river with a lot of stuff. Like, our betting so big on the turn, given that we're going to play the river like this, with our thinking makes it really stupid. And I got to study cash games more. I think we fucked this hand up. I think we fucked this whole session up, honestly. I don't think we played very well, and I need to study cash. So we check. He bets 250. We give up. But we were in for 700, and we cashed out 1340, minus $160 in slots, profit of 480. That's a good session, but we are not going to be results oriented here. We have a lot of study to do on cash games, because too often in this vlog I've said I don't know. So, I've been wanting to learn cash games a little bit. I know tournaments and WSOP's coming up, but I gotta do some study cash games. So thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe. Please like,
Make the booty bounce on the dance floor.
Now, he doesn't deserve any applause. He called with King Jack.